Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today. There's one boundary that makes any man go crazy, and that boundary is the limit you set on what he has access to. See, men are hunters by nature. We chase what we can't easily have. If you give everything away, your time, your attention, your body, your energy, without requiring effort, a man has nothing left to chase. But when you set that one powerful boundary, when you decide, this is my worth, and you can't touch this unless you earn it, oh, that makes him lose his mind. Because now you've drawn a line, and he's got to figure out how to cross it the right way. The first part of this is about respecting your own value. Let me tell you, nobody's going to respect you more than you respect yourself. If you're always available, always saying yes, always letting him slide with half, why should he give you his best? But the moment you stand firm, when you say, this is who I am, this is what I deserve, and I won't accept less, that's when a man realizes he either has to rise up or lose you. And trust me, losing a good woman makes a man go crazy. Second, this boundary is about controlling access. Access to your time, your mind, your body. That's your currency. That's your treasure. If you just hand it out without requiring investment, you cheapen it. But when you guard it, when you say, hold up, not everybody gets access to me, you shift the entire power dynamic. Now, he's got to put in effort. He's got to prove he's worthy of being in your space. And believe me, that chase, that effort, it drives a man crazy in a good way. Third, you must have non-negotiable standards. Every queen has rules for her kingdom. And if you don't set them, somebody else will. If you tell a man, I don't tolerate disrespect, I don't tolerate inconsistency, and I don't tolerate lies, and then you actually stand on it, that boundary makes him pay attention. Because now he knows, man, I can't just slide by. I got to be better. I got to show up. That boundary is like fire. It burns away the weak, but it forges the strong. And finally, the most powerful part of this boundary is silence. See, silence is a weapon most women underestimate. You don't have to beg. You don't have to prove your point. You just step back, pull away, go quiet. That silence echoes louder than any words. That's when a man starts replaying everything in his mind, wondering where he went wrong, realizing he messed up. And that silence, oh, it drives him crazy. So remember, the one boundary that makes any man go crazy is the one that protects your value, your time, and your standards. When you enforce it, you don't just gain respect, you command it. And any man who truly wants you will step up. Because a real man can't stand being locked out of the heart of a woman he knows is worth it. Let me tell you something. The number one thing that makes any man go crazy is when a woman respects her own value. Now, that might sound simple, but I promise you it's deeper than most people realize. See, the way you carry yourself sets the tone for how other people treat you. If you walk into the world like you're priceless, people have no choice but to treat you like you're priceless. But if you walk into the world like you're desperate for validation, like you're begging to be chosen, then somebody's going to treat you like you're on clearance. And let me tell you right now, you are not a discount. You're not buy one, get one free. You're not something somebody should just grab because it's convenient. You're the whole treasure chest. And when you know that, it changes everything. Here's the truth about men: we are wired to rise to the level of what we think we're pursuing. If you put your value on the ground, he's going to assume it's free. He's going to assume it's easy. He's going to assume it's not worth much. But if you hold your value high, if you put it on a pedestal, if you show him that access to you is a privilege and not a right, that's when he goes crazy. Because now he sees, man, if I don't bring my best, I don't even stand a chance. And trust me, that's what makes a man step up. That's what makes him look at you differently than anybody else. I've said it many times, men respect what we have to work for. If it's handed to us, we don't appreciate it the same way. Think about it. If a man wants a car and he saves up his money, works long hours, sacrifices, goes to the dealership and pays for it himself, you think he's going to let that car get dirty, busted, scratched up? No, he's out there every Saturday morning with a bucket, washing it, shining the tires, keeping it spotless. But if somebody just gave him that same car for free, he's not going to treat it the same. Why? Because he didn't have to sacrifice for it. It didn't cost him anything. That's the same way men look at women. When a man has to put in time, energy, effort, and he has to pursue, call, plan dates, show up for you. When he has to invest, he respects you. He values you. But if you let him in too fast, if you give him everything before he proves himself, then in his mind it's like, well, I didn't even have to try. If she gave it all to me this easy, how many other men got the same thing? That thought right there makes him lose interest. But when you respect yourself, when you put boundaries around your value, when you make him work for your heart, that man will go crazy. He'll stay up at night thinking about how to win you. He'll be nervous before he calls you. He'll be sweating over what to text because he doesn't want to mess up. That's the kind of effect self-respect has. Now, I know some women hear this and, Steve, if I hold back, won't I lose him? Let me make it plain. If a man walks away because you respected yourself, he wasn't the one for you in the first place. Don't you ever lower your value to keep somebody who isn't willing to rise up to it. That's backwards. That's like shrinking yourself to fit in a box when you were made to stand tall. And here's the truth, when you know your worth, you automatically weed out the wrong men. The ones who just want to play games, the ones who don't have real intentions, the ones who aren't serious, they're going to fall off real quick because they can't handle it. And that's a blessing, not a loss, because the right man, the man who's serious about you, the man who sees your value, he's not going to be scared off. He's going to step up. Respecting your value doesn't just mean saying, I deserve more. It means living like you deserve more. It means not answering the phone at 2 a.m. when he only calls you for convenience. It means not rearranging your entire life for a man who won't even make time for you during the day. It means not letting him talk to you any kind of way, not letting him show up late every time, not letting him breadcrumb you with excuses and empty promises. It means saying, I don't have to put up with this because I know who I am. And when you do that, something shifts. That man who thought he could slide by will suddenly realize, hold up, she's not like the others. She's not accepting my half effort. She knows her worth. And that's when he starts to lose his mind. The crazy part is, when a man sees a woman who respects her own value, he starts to elevate his own. Because men are competitive by nature. We don't want to lose something rare. If he sees you as the prize, he's going to work like crazy to win you and even crazier to keep you. And that's what respect really is. It's not just about desire. It's about effort, consistency, and commitment. But it all starts with you. If you don't set the tone, he's going to assume there isn't one. Ladies, think about the last time you said yes to something you should have said no to. Maybe you gave him another chance after he disrespected you. Maybe you kept answering texts even though he only hit you up when he was bored. Maybe you kept giving and giving, hoping he'd eventually see your worth. But let me ask you, did it work? Did he respect you for granted even more? The answer is always the same. Because respect doesn't come from begging, it comes from boundaries. Respect doesn't come from proving your worth, it comes from knowing your worth. And when you know it, everything changes. Men go crazy when you respect yourself. Mystery. It creates challenge. It creates the question in his mind, how do I get her attention? How do I keep her attention? How do I make her mine? And the moment a man starts asking himself those questions, you've already set yourself apart. Because you're not just another option. You're the standard. You're the one he can't stop thinking about. Respecting your value also means knowing that you don't compete. See, when you know your worth, you don't worry about what another woman is doing. You don't chase after him because you're scared of losing him to somebody else. You know that if he can be taken, he was never yours to begin with. That's confidence. That's self-respect. And trust me, that confidence is magnetic. It makes a man crazy because he realizes he can't play with you like he plays with others. He realizes he's got to bring something real to the table or he's going to lose you. And losing a woman who knows her value is a man's biggest regret. He'll think about it years later, wondering why he didn't do better when he had the chance. So let me put it this way, a man goes crazy when you respect yourself because it makes him see you as rare, valuable, and irreplaceable. And in a world where so many people are willing to settle, being a woman who knows her worth is the ultimate boundary. It's the one thing that separates the queens from the rest. It's the one thing that makes them look at you and say, I can't play with her. I got to step up. And that's the exact energy that makes him go wild inside. Let me break something down for you today. One of the biggest boundaries that makes a man go absolutely crazy is when a woman controls access. And I'm not just talking about physical access, even though that's a major part of it. I'm talking about access to you as a whole, your time, your energy, your space, your emotions, your body, your mind, and your heart. When you know how to control access, you become unforgettable because you've placed a value on yourself that a man cannot ignore. See, access is everything. Think about any exclusive club or event. The more difficult it is to get into, the more people want to be there. They'll wait in line. They'll pay extra. They'll follow all the rules just for the privilege of being allowed in. But if you take away the security, if you leave the doors wide open, anybody can walk in off the street. Suddenly, it doesn't feel exclusive anymore. The same principle applies to you. If you let anybody and everybody have access to your life, your energy, and your attention, then it doesn't feel like it's worth much. But if you control who gets in, if you're selective, if you make it clear that not everybody qualifies, then you automatically become more valuable in the eyes of a man. That's when he goes crazy because he realizes he can't just stroll in. He's got to earn it. Let's talk about access to your time. Time is one of the most valuable things you have because you can never get it back. Every second you give someone is a second you'll never see again. When a man knows that you don't just hand out your time to anyone, he starts to treat it with respect. If you're always available, always dropping everything the moment he calls, always saying yes no matter how last minute his plans are, then he learns to take your time for granted. But if you're not always available, if you make him plan ahead, if you make him understand that your time is precious, he will value it more. That's why a man goes crazy for a woman who controls access. He knows he can't just slide into her world whenever he feels like it. He's got to make an effort. He's got to prioritize her because she prioritizes herself. Then there's access to your energy. Some women give away all their energy trying to fix men, heal men, save men. They think if they just pour everything they have into him, eventually he'll step up. But here's the truth, a man doesn't step up because you drained yourself dry for him. A man steps up when he realizes you're not going to exhaust yourself for someone who won't meet you halfway. When you control access to your energy, when you say, I'm not pouring into someone who doesn't pour into me, that makes a man wake up because now he realizes your energy is a privilege, not a guarantee. And when he sees you keeping your energy guarded, investing it only where it's reciprocated, it drives him crazy. It makes him want to be the man you actually open that access for. And let's be real, physical access is huge. Too many times, women give men physical access before he's proven anything else. And then they wonder why he doesn't respect them, why he doesn't call back, why he doesn't treat them like a priority. The reason is simple. If you give him the prize before he's earned it, what reason does he have to keep running the race? That doesn't mean you play games or manipulate. It means you understand that your body is not just something to give away because he asked. It's something sacred, something valuable, something that comes with responsibility. When a man realizes he doesn't get physical access until he's shown consistency, respect, and real intentions, he goes crazy. He can't stop thinking about you. He can't snotting how to prove himself because now he knows, man, I got to earn this. I can't just coast. I got to step up. Controlling access to your emotions is another piece. See, a lot of women put their whole heart on the line too early. They start sharing everything, crying to him, confiding in him, building up before they even know if he deserves that level of intimacy. But when you control access to your emotions, when you don't give in you on day one, when you pace yourself and keep certain things reserved until he shows consistency, it makes him work harder to brain those walls the right way. Men love a challenge. When a man knows that your heart isn't something he can just waltz in and claim, it drives him crazy. He has to keep showing up, keep proving himself, keep demonstrating that he's safe enough to handle that side of you. That boundary right there separates the ones who are playing games from the ones who are serious. Another part of controlling access is social access. Too often, women introduce a man to their world, their kids, their friends, their personal life, before he's proven that he belongs there. But when you hold that back, when you say, no, you don't get to meet the people closest to me until you've shown you're serious, that sets a powerful tone. It tells him that you're not just letting anybody into your inner circle. And trust me, a man notices that. He realizes he's got to be somebody real to stand in that space with you. That kind of access has to be earned, And when you guard it, it makes him crazy with anticipation. Controlling access is also about communication. Do you answer every text immediately? Do you pick up every time he calls, even when he's been inconsistent? Or do you let him know through your actions that access to you is not automatic? When a man realizes that you're not sitting by the phone waiting on him, that your life is full, that you've got things going on outside of him, it changes the way he sees you. It makes him chase harder, because now he understands that your world doesn't revolve around him, and if he wants to be in it, he has to earn a spot. And here's the kicker. When you control access, you protect yourself from being used. See, some men only come around for convenience. They want access to your body, your time, your attention, but they don't want to commit. But they don't control that access. You'll end up drained, hurt, and confused. But when you set boundaries, when you only open door for men who are consistent, respectful, and serious, you save yourself from heartbreak. And the men who are just looking for something easy, they'll fall away. They'll stop calling. And that's a blessing, because it clears the space for the man who's really about you. Men respect what they earn. If you make a man earn access to you, he won't take you for granted. He won't treat you like an option, because he knows you're not easy to replace. That's what makes him go crazy. He realizes he has to do something different for you than he's done for anybody else. He realizes he has to invest more, love harder, be better. And once he earns an access, he values it deeply, because he remembers the effort it took to get there. So controlling access isn't about playing hard to get. It's about knowing you are worth protecting. It's about understanding that not everybody deserves you. It's about recognizing that the more exclusive you are with your time, your energy, your heart, and you're more valuable you become in a man's eyes. That's not arrogance, that's self-respect. And when a man encounters a woman who controls access to him like that, it flips a switch in his mind. It makes him say, this woman is different. I can't play with her. I can't lose her. I've got to step all the way up. And that's when he goes crazy. Because now he knows he's dealing with a woman who understands her worth and refuses to hand it over to just anybody. Let me tell you something real. A woman without standards is like a house with no doors. Anybody can walk in, stay as long as they want, and leave whenever they feel like it. But a woman with non-negotiable standards, that's a fortress, that's a palace. And that's exactly what makes a man go crazy. Because he realizes he can't to you with just anything. He can't half-step. He can't play games. He can't feed you lies and expect you to accept them. When you have non-negotiable standards, you're telling the world, this is the minimum requirement to be in my life. If you can't meet it, you can't have me. And that boundary right there is what separates the queens from the rest. See, a lot of women think standards are about being picky. But standards aren't about being picky. They're about being intentional. They're about knowing what you will and will not tolerate. And here's the thing, men test women all the time, sometimes without even realizing it. They'll see what they can get away with. They'll push just a little to see if you're going to bend. If you do bend, they take note. But when you stand firm, when you don't compromise your standards for anyone, that's when a man says, okay, she's not like everybody else. And that's when he starts to lose his mind, because now he knows he has to operate on a higher level to be with you. Let's talk about what non-negotiable standards look like. It means you don't tolerate disrespect. If a man raises his voice at you, calls you out of your name, or talks to you like you're beneath him, you don't just let it slide. You let him know, that's not how I'm going to be spoken to. If he keeps doing it, you walk away. That's non-negotiable. You don't tolerate inconsistency. If a man disappears for 3 days and then pops back up like nothing happened, you don't just welcome him with open arms. You let him know, I don't deal with disappearing acts. If you can't be consistent, you can't be with me. That's not on tolerate lies. If you catch him in dishonesty, you don't make excuses for him. You don't say, well, everybody lies sometimes. No, you say, you can't be honest, you can't have me. That's non-negotiable. When you live by those kinds of standards, you don't just protect yourself, you elevate yourself. Because every time you say no to something beneath you, you make room for something worthy of you. Every time you walk away from disrespect, you create space for respect. Every time you refuse to bend for inconsistency, you create space for stability. And every time you stand firm, men notice. They may not admit it out loud, but it makes them think twice about how they approach you. And let me say this, non-negotiable standards don't push the wrong man away. They only push the wrong man away. The right man isn't going to be scared of your standards. He's going to be inspired by them. He's going to look at you and say, finally, a woman who knows what she deserves. Finally, someone who makes me want to be better. Men rise when they see standards. That's just how we're wired. If we think we can get away with the bare minimum, that's what we'll give. But if we know you won't even look at us unless we're bringing our best, that's when we elevate. That's when we go above and beyond. And that's when we start to go crazy because we realize we can't afford to mess this up. Now, here's the mistake a lot of women make. They set standards, but then they make exceptions. They say, I don't tolerate disrespect, but then he disrespects them, apologizes, and they let him back in without consequences. They say, I want consistency, but then accept a man who only shows up when it's convenient for him. They say, I won't tolerate lies, but then catch and lie and still give him another chance. That's not a standard, that's a suggestion. And men know the difference. A standard is something you would not move on, no matter how much you like him, no matter how handsome he is, no matter how much chemistry you feel. Because the moment you bend, the moment you compromise, you teach him that your standards aren't real. You teach him that he can break the rules and still keep you. And once he knows that, the respect goes out the window. That's why non-negotiable standards are so powerful. Because when you actually stick to them, when you actually enforce them, it sends a clear message. I don't want you, but I don't need you. If you can't meet my standards, I will find someone who will. That kind of energy drives a man crazy. It makes him step back and evaluate himself. It makes him realize that if he doesn't level up, he's going to lose you. And the fear of losing a valuable woman, that fear is one of the strongest motivators a man can have. Think about a job interview. If you apply for a high-level job and they tell you, expect professionalism, punctuality, hard work, and results, you know exactly what's required. If you want that job, you're going to bring your best. But if they can show up late, you don't really have to perform. We'll pay you anyway. What happens? People slack off. They don't take it seriously. The same is true in relationships. Standards set the tone. They tell a man exactly what's required. And if he wants you, he will rise to meet those standards. The crazy thing, men actually admire women with non-negotiable standards. We may act frustrated, we may act like it's a challenge, but deep down we respect it because it shows us that you value yourself. And a man can't truly value you if you don't value yourself first. When you enforce your standards, you're teaching him how to treat you. You're saying, this is the level of respect I demand. This is the level of effort I deserve. This is the level of love I require. And a man who truly wants you will meet it. He might stumble, he might have to adjust, but he'll try. And every time he tries, every time he pushes himself to meet that bar, he gets more invested, he gets more hooked, he gets more committed. Let me put it another way. A woman without standards is replaceable. But a woman with non-negotiable standards, she's one in a million. She's unforgettable. Because most people in this world are willing to settle. Most people are willing to compromise. Most people are willing to bend just to say they have somebody. But when you're not willing to do that, when you're willing to walk alone, rather than accept less than what you deserve, that makes you rare. And anything rare drives people crazy. So when a man comes across a woman like that, a woman with non-negotiable standards, he doesn't just see her as another option. He sees her as the option, the standard, the one he doesn't want to lose. And that's when he goes crazy because he knows that if he doesn't give you his best, you're gone. And he also knows that if you're gone, he won't find another like you. That kind of pressure doesn't scare the right man. It sharpens him. It makes him focus. It makes him love harder. It makes him commit stronger. And that all comes from the power of you standing firm in your non-negotiable standards. There's something most people don't understand about silence. They think silence is weakness. It means you've given up, that you don't care, or that you don't have anything to say. But let me tell you this, silence is one of the loudest tools you can use. A man will hear your silence louder than he'll hear your yelling. He'll feel your silence deeper than he'll feel your tears. Silence is power. And when you know how to use it, you'll drive a man crazy without saying a single word. See, here's the thing about men. We don't always process words in the moment. You can talk, you can explain, you can cry, you can argue, but a lot of times it goes right over our head because we're too busy defending ourselves. But silence. Silence makes a man sit with himself. Silence makes him reflect. Silence forces him to hear his own thoughts, and that's where the shift happens. Because when a woman stops talking, stops chasing, stops explaining, that's when a man starts to think. That's when he starts to feel the weight of his actions. And that's when he starts going crazy inside. Imagine this, a man messes up. He takes you for granted. He thinks you'll always be there no matter what. Maybe you've tried to talk to him before, try to explain how you feel, but he didn't listen. Then one day you stop talking. You don't text first. You don't call back right away. You don't argue. You don't try to convince him to do right. You just pull back. That silence hits him different. All of a sudden, he's replaying everything in his head. He's thinking, wait, what's going on? Why isn't she blowing up my phone? Why isn't she pressing me? Why isn't she arguing with me like she usually does? And that's when panic sets in. That's when he starts going crazy because he realizes something changed. And the change is you taking your power back through silence. The beauty of silence is that it speaks without effort. It doesn't require you to scream. It doesn't require you to plead. It doesn't require you to exhaust yourself. Silence simply says, I don't have to beg you to do right by me. I don't have to chase you to see my value. I don't have to argue with you to prove my worth. Either you step up or you lose me. And men feel it deep. Because when a woman goes silent, it's not just about the absence of words. It's about the absence of access. That silence tells us we no longer have the same place we used to. And that realization is enough to make a man lose sleep. Let me tell you something, silence is not about punishment. It's about boundaries. It's about creating space for a man to either correct himself or eliminate himself. And that space is where his mind runs wild. He'll start wondering if you're moving on, if another man is taking your attention, if he lost his shot with you for good. That imagination alone drives men crazy. Because men don't like the unknown. We want certainty. We want to know where we stand. And silence takes that certainty away. Silence forces us to face the possibility that we might have blown it. You know what else silence does? It reveals effort. See, when you stop talking, when you stop explaining, you create room to see what he's really willing to do. If you're always talking, always reminding, always pushing, he never has to think for himself. But when you go quiet, you find out real quick who's actually invested. Because the man who doesn't care will stay silent right along with you. But the man who values you will break that silence. He'll call, he'll text, he'll show up, he'll try to fix things because your silence makes him realize how much he doesn't want to lose you. Now, let me be real. Silence isn't easy. It takes discipline. Because a lot of times you want to explain yourself. You want to make sure he knows how bad he hurt you. You want to prove your point. But here's the truth. Words won't do what silence will. Words can be ignored, debated, twisted. Silence cannot. Silence leaves no room for excuses. It leaves a man alone with himself, and that is where change begins. When he has to sit in the discomfort of his own actions, that's when growth happens. And silence isn't just about relationships with men. It's about life. Sometimes the best way to win an argument is not to argue. The best way to prove your strength is not to show your strength through shouting, but through restraint. Silence says, I know my worth, and I don't have to fight to prove it. And a man feels that on a level he can't even explain. Because men expect women to argue, to chase, to nag, to keep pressing. When you break that pattern, when you go silent, it shocks his system. It makes him stop and say, wait a minute, this is different. And that difference drives him crazy. Think about it like this. If somebody is banging on a door, you expect the person inside to answer eventually. But if the person inside never answers, the banging gets louder, the knocking gets more desperate. The caller starts trying to peek through the window. That's exactly what happens with silence. A man expects you to answer when he reaches out. He expects you to respond the way you always do. But when you don't, he starts banging harder, metaphorically. He calls more, he texts more. He starts trying to figure out what's happening. That's the power of silence. It flips the chase. Instead of you chasing him, he's chasing you. Silence also creates mystery, and mystery is powerful. When a man doesn't know what you're thinking, he starts imagining, and imagination can be a dangerous thing. He starts wondering if you're talking to someone else. He starts wondering if you've moved on. He starts wondering if he messed up so bad that he can't fix it. And those thoughts don't leave him alone. They linger. They keep him up at night. That's why silence is such a powerful tool. It lets his own mind do the work for you. But here's the key: silence only works when it's backed by strength. If you go silent for a day but then break it because you couldn't hold out, it loses its power. But when you really commit to it, when you stay disciplined, when you let that silence stretch out, it becomes undeniable. He'll know you're serious. He'll know you're not playing games. And that realization will shake him, because most women don't do that. Most women chase. Most women argue. Most women try to explain. When you choose silence, you separate yourself. And that separation is what makes a man go crazy. A man will never admit it, but silence scares us, because it means you're no longer trying to convince us to stay. It means you've put the ball in our court, and we don't know if we can dribble it right. Silence says, I'm done talking, now it's on you. And that's the moment when a man either rises to the occasion or reveals that he was never capable. Either way, your silence gave you the answer without you to waste another word. And that's real power. So never underestimate the strength of silence. It's not weakness. It's not surrender. It's strategy. It's control. And it's one of the most effective boundaries you'll ever use. Because when a man hears nothing, he feels everything. And in that space of quiet, in that gap where your voice used to be, he'll either step up or step out. And whichever way it goes, your silence made the truth loud and clear.